Be sure to check out all of our interviews at athletesangle.com, where you can also find the podcast from all of our past episodes, as well as blogs about the show, including Take 5.
We talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice. Practice, man. I mean, how silly is that?
Playoffs? Don't talk about playoffs. You kidding me? Playoffs?
But they are who we thought they were, and we let them off the hook.
I don't really think that me breaking Jerry Rice's record was special. I think shutting you guys up is really what made it special.
Welcome back to Athlete's Angle here on 101.5. Joining us live now on the phone, the host of the Jason Gregor Show on the Team 1260 in Edmonton, Jason Gregor. All right, Jason, well, we're talking a little hockey today, and we're going to talk first about your hometown Edmonton Oilers. What kind of impact do you think those big three rookies, Taylor Hall, Magnus Paajarvi-Svensson, and Jordy Eberle, can have on the team this year?
Well, they'll make an entertaining impact, that's for sure. The team definitely has more skill. I don't know if they have NHL skill yet. And those kids are going to struggle. You're not going to see all of them come in and put up big points. If one of them gets over 50 points, it's probably be a pretty successful season for them. And honestly, I don't know if you can say there's a kind of a favorite between the three of them to have a better season. It depends who you talk to. It seems that Eberle and Paajarvi, because they're older and Paajarvi playing 3 years in Sweden against men, people think he might have a better chance to make an impact. But he's not going to get power play time to start the year anyway, so that might change things. You know, the big keys, though, still for the Oilers, it's going to be Hemsky, it's going to be Penner, and I think fourth-year player Sam Gagner, this is the year that he has to kind of step up and become a guy who's at least a 60-point player.
Yeah, this team's got a lot of young and exciting players coming up, but I don't really foresee this translating into a lot of wins, do you?
Well, they're going to have more wins than last year, for sure. You got to remember that Ales Hemsky only played 22 games last year for the Oilers. Nikolai Habibulin played 18. They're the two best players. And if those two stay healthy, they're automatically right there, 4 or 5 wins better. Not to mention the excitement level those kids will bring. Gagner should be better this year than he was in the past. And more so the dead weight they got rid of. Ryan Patolny, Pouliot, Pisani, Morrow. You know, it's not like those guys, Aaron Johnson. Go down the list of Patrick O'Sullivan, probably the worst culprit ever, being a guy who wasn't interested in playing. So that in itself will make them better. They could win 10 more games, and it still wouldn't be enough because they missed the playoffs by so much last year. You know, and last year you had so many teams with 100 points in the West, 7 of them. Obviously, I don't see the Oilers making the playoffs this year, but I also don't see them being that bad. They'll be more entertaining. They're going to play a lot more up-tempo style. They're going to pressure the puck, and they're a lot faster team. A lot of it will come down to if Cogliano and Brule and Gagner, those three kind of mature kids, if those guys can all take a big step forward, you never know. The Oilers could surprise some people, but realistically for this team, it's better if they have an exciting season but finish probably 12th or 13th and ensure that they get another top 10 pick next year.
Yeah, I still think they're one big top 10 draft pick away from making a splash in the Western Conference. All right, let's shift our focus down highway number 2 there to the Calgary Flames, a team that last year struggled mightily with the salary cap. Have they done enough to alleviate themselves of that?
Well, the Flames still have massive cap issues. Tonight they're going to start against the Oilers, and they're going to have they have over $6 million sitting in the press box. So no, it doesn't look good for the Calgary Flames. I think they got 5 guys to start the season that are injured. You look at them, they went back, they brought in Olli Jokinen, they brought in Tanguay. They've kind of went back in their past and hope that their future is going to be better. They're just trying to stop gaps. It's funny, in Edmonton, most fans realize this team's rebuilding. In Calgary, no one really knows what they're doing. If they think they're going to take a run at it, they're going to have to do it right now. Supposedly, Brent Sutter is finally going to have a more offensive system in place. He wants to be more puck possession, more aggressive, forecheck, skate more, because the Flames have been one of the most boring teams to play. They were the second lowest scoring team in the NHL last year. If that happens, they won't make the playoffs. But I actually think the Flames will make the playoffs. Do I think they'll go anywhere when they get there? No. But I actually think that they've got enough guys this year. Hagman's another guy they got in the trade when Stajan gets healthy. They should have enough offense that they can at least make the playoffs.
Yeah, Daryl Sutter looked like a hockey genius when he first rode into town acquiring Camilleri and Kiprusoff, but with the reacquisition of Jokinen and Tanguay, it almost seems like he's hitting the panic button, no?
Well, I think Daryl Sutter's problem is at times they're so focused on defense first that the games pass them by in a sense. And now Brent Sutter is a very smart hockey guy, and so if he stays true to his word and has a more up-tempo style, then I think, they'll be okay. They've got Giordano and Bouwmeester on the back end, and I think Giordano, had a pretty good breakout year last year, might have an even better one this year. That, if he stands by that, they've got a goaltender that they should trust enough to play a little bit more open style hockey, at least in the offensive zone, and go after guys. So, we'll see. Daryl Sutter, to me, bringing in Jay Feaster as their assistant GM, I really think that's just a progression. I could easily see Daryl Sutter becoming president of hockey operations or a VP of hockey operations, and having Feaster as their GM, maybe sometime this year, and if not, over the summer.
Well, it will be interesting to see how that all plays out down there in Calgary. Let's quickly now shift our focus to the Vancouver Canucks, a team with a lot of regular season success lately, but failed to make any noise in the playoffs. Roberto Luongo gives up his captaincy. Is that the move in the right direction for this organization?
Well, that was a stupid decision in the first place. All they're doing is righting a wrong there. But the Canucks are clearly the favorite to win the Northwest. Barring massive injuries or a massive surprise, I don't see how they don't finish first in the Northwest. I don't see much competition there. They've got Luongo, who's a top-end goaltender. Their defensemen 1 through 6 are pretty solid, and their top 2 lines are very good. If they can avoid injuries, but they're kind of like the San Jose Sharks, really. The regular season doesn't mean much for Vancouver other than getting home ice advantage and where they're going to play. But them and the Sharks are teams that, unless they win in the playoffs, no one's going to care what they do in the regular season. And Vancouver, there's a lot of people picking them to win this year. Luongo being the goaltender at the Olympics last year probably helped him a little bit. So we'll see what they can do moving forward. But for Vancouver, they'll win the Northwest, but really they won't answer any questions until they get to the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what it is about the Canucks, but I'm still not buying what they're selling. I'm not on board with them just quite yet. Let's head out east now. Talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. Dion Phaneuf taking over as the captain of that team. J.S. Giguère, the goalie. And people are already talking playoffs with this team. I don't know. Might be a year too early, Jason. What are your thoughts?
Goodness gracious! If and I've been laughing listening to people say that, and hey, anything's possible. But no, if the Leafs make the playoffs this year, I'll be blown away. I don't see them having enough offense. Bozak's their first line center, man. People don't even know who this guy is, and he came out of college. As a late college player, and there's Brian Burke trying to go after college guys and see if they pan out. They'll be better than they were last year. Phaneuf and Giguère are there all year. Phil Kessel, is easily their best forward. But no, I don't see them having enough depth all around the lineup. And I really think Ron Wilson, come Christmas, if that team's not in a good position, he might lose his job, because I don't think he's another guy who just doesn't seem to adapt to the new NHL.
Yeah, Ron Wilson just seems to be maddening over there in Toronto. I mean, the guy still believes in the trap and the defense-first system, and he hinges his entire offense, it seems, on Phil Kessel's shoulders, which is just a brutal thing to do.
Well, very few teams can win with one guy, and Kessel's a dynamic player. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a legitimate goal scorer, one of the probably top 10 goal scorers in the game, but he's got no one to play with, and they don't have any draft picks. Their first and second rounder went in that trade to Kessel, and they've given up their first round this coming year. So, I don't know how Burke thinks he's going to rebuild in the new NHL now, unless he thinks he's going to get all these guys who somehow are free agents out of college, that these players are going to, be the future stars in the league. I think he's dreaming. He might hit 1 out of 15 and make that guy be an impact player offensively. So, I don't really know how they're going to rebuild. They've got tons of money to spend, and I think he thinks he can go through the free agent market, but not many free agents want to go to teams that are bottom feeders, and until Toronto turns things around, it's going to be hard to attract any free agents, even though he says it's the best city in the NHL to play in.
He is Jason Gregor, the host of the Jason Gregor Show on the Team 1260 in Edmonton. You can also stream his show live on jasongregor.com. Check out his podcast. They're also up on there. Jason, let's talk about the Maple Leafs' arch rival, the Montreal Canadiens. They had a magical run last year through the playoffs with a goaltender who was great in the Olympics, solid in the regular season, had outstanding playoffs in Yaroslav Halak. This offseason, they deal him away and decide to go with Carey Price. Is the move in the right direction or a mistake by the management?
Well, it was a perplexing one that they made that decision, but considering what they got in return for Halak, which wasn't much, it's funny. I talked to a lot of general managers, and most of them had rated Carey Price higher. And clearly, looking at what St. Louis gave up, which wasn't a whole bunch to get Halak, then clearly there wasn't that big of a demand for this guy. The concern with Halak is whether or not he's big enough to play 65 or 70 games continually as a goaltender. There's very few guys that can play that many games, especially if they're smaller in stature. Carey Price is in a tough situation. The Habs fans are lunatics. They're booing the guy in preseason, for goodness sakes. I understand they pay the money. It's a hard place for him to play. If he has a thick skin, he should be okay. If not, it could be a long season for him, and one that ultimately would leave him probably getting shipped out of town at some point before that contract's out. So I think this is going to be more of a mental battle than physical for Carey Price, just on how how quick to react and just how emotionally charged the Habs fans are. They just, man, they're moody. They're like a woman who's pregnant 8 months all the time of the year. Their mood swings are up and down. It's incredible.
Yeah, the Habs fans are very, very passionate about their hockey team, as shown by their booing of Carey Price in the preseason this year. I think Halak's season last year, lifting them all the way through the playoffs, has set the bar almost way too high for Carey Price, and he has no chance but to fail this year.
Well, Halak was a great one-year wonder, but we've seen a lot of those things. If Halak goes into St. Louis and that team doesn't even get into the playoffs, people are like, well, how good was he? Right? So I don't know if Carey Price, and the great thing about sports fans is, if Carey Price can come in and play well, they'll probably forget about it. Now, bang on, I don't see them upsetting the Washington Capitals again. That's obvious. But as good as Halak was, that was also bad coaching on I thought, the part of Bruce Boudreau. He didn't demand his offensive players have any sort of responsibility in their own zone, and that's really what killed them ultimately. They couldn't score, and they couldn't play defense. So, Carey Price is definitely in a tough situation, but there's been other guys coming in worse situations where teams have won the cup, i.e. Marty Turco in Chicago. Even though he's a veteran, he's replacing the guy that led him to the cup, and that to me would be a lot harder to replace than a guy who won one series.
Well, Jason, let's wrap up our Canadian team NHL preview by talking about the Ottawa Senators, a team who made a huge splash on day one of free agency by signing Sergei Gonchar away from the Pittsburgh Penguins, and now they got a healthy Pascal Leclerc. Do you think they're ready to get over that hump in the East?
Well, when you say healthy Pascal Leclerc, let's talk in 2 weeks and wonder if he's still healthy. That's been the biggest knock on that guy, is whether or not he can stay healthy. And, Ottawa surprised him, 95 points last year on a team that had some significant injuries. Corey Klusen is one of the better young coaches in the league, I think. And, if he can get his guys to buy in, yeah, they got a shot. Gonchar is a hell of a defenseman still. Second highest point totals in the last 10 years behind only Nick Lidstrom. The guy can put up points and run a power play exceptionally well. So Ottawa, yeah, they're in the mix. They're that they lost Volchenkov though in the back end, and that's going to hurt them defensively. He blocked a ton of shots, and they don't have a guy that can replace that. But they're in that division with so many question marks with Toronto and Montreal and Boston and Buffalo. Yeah, I could see Ottawa, winning their division, because I don't see a great team. Buffalo was good last year but did nothing in the playoffs, and Boston is still a fair amount of question marks with Mark Savard out for what looks like maybe the season. So I think that division probably right now the one that could see any four teams. Who knows? Montreal could surprise. Any four teams, excluding Toronto, I think might be able to win that division. I think it's really up in the air.
I personally really like what Ottawa's done with their team. I think they're kind of a poor man's version of the Washington Capitals. 4 of their 6 defensemen, great puck movers, question marks in goal still. I like their forwards. They got great depth. I think they're a good team. I like what they've done. They're very offensive.
Yeah, although, they don't have a Backstrom and an Ovechkin, which, 200-point guys. We'll see what Jason Spezza does. Alfredson, you always wonder when the age is going to start creeping up on him. But, the similarities are that they both have questions in goal, right? No one knows how good Washington's 2 rookies are going to be. And no one really knows whether or not Elliott or Leclerc can carry the weight for an extended period of time. And in Leclerc's case, whether or not he can stay healthy. So there is the similarity there for sure. And it'll be interesting to see. But, Washington's obviously, I think, the class of the Eastern Conference in the regular season anyway. But they're another team that until they win in the playoffs, they're going to have questions surrounding them.
He is Jason Gregor, the host of the Jason Gregor Show on the Team 1260 in Edmonton. Check out his podcast, lots of other stuff. Listen to the show live Mondays to Fridays, 2 to 6 p.m. at jasongregor.com. Jason, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us today on Athletes Angle.
Ryan, good talking again, man. Take her easy.
So there you have it, folks. Thanks for listening to Athletes Angle with Ryan Carrett here on 101.5 UM FM.